Hey everybody, here we are, another week. Listen, it's another week, is we're at the end of another week. I'm kind of like, I like the weekends, except for me, I don't know the difference between a weekday and a weekend, you know. This is Bill Harley, I'm still here, and you're still there, and we're still here together somehow, alright? And I'm going to sing a couple songs. I got a story to tell you. Which, when I made it up, I thought it was just funny, but it turns out it's kind of like a little bit like a ghost story. I hear kids say to me, "Oh man, that story's really spooky," and I think, really? Like spooky clams? Who knew? But anyway, first I'm going to do a song, and usually I do songs that I wrote, but I'm going to do a song that was written by my good buddy, Peter Alsop. Peter lives in California, outside of Los Angeles, and Peter and I have known each other for 40 years. Yeah, maybe even a little bit longer. When I first started to sing for kids, there weren't very many people making records for kids, and I came across a couple. One of them was Barry Louis Polizar, who was in Maryland outside of Washington, D.C., and his recordings were hilarious. And then I ran across this guy, Peter Alsop, who makes Peter has written some of the greatest kid songs there are. And we actually made a recording together about what it's like to be in the hospital for kids many years ago. So anyway, but this is one of Peter's songs, and it's an echo song. So if you want to echo with me, I sing a line, and then you sing a line, and then there's a line that I just sing just myself at the end. But anyway, this is one of Peter's great songs. So Peter, you might be watching. I don't know. Who knows? Here we go. It goes like this. I am a pizza. You sing. I am a pizza with extra cheese from tomatoes, sauces squeezed, garlic and mushrooms, oregano. I am a pizza ready to go. Alright, that's how it goes, right? I am a pizza, pepperonis, no anchovies, or phony bologna, onions and sausage. Order by phone. I am a pizza. Please take me home. Now here's the part that Peter wrote up. It's very complicated, and I don't even. You can just echo it back. Peter says this whole thing about how you take the pizza and then before you buy it, it has to be cooked, and so he's got it in the oven. And in the oven, when you close the door, it makes this sound. Beautiful, all right. I am a pizza, fresh baked crust. I am a pizza, ready to bust. I am a pizza, peppers on top, out of the oven and into the box, into the car and upside down. I am a pizza dropped on the ground. Oh, I was a pizza. I was the best. I was a pizza. Now I'm a mess. There you go, Peter. Thanks a lot. You know, listen, and singing this song like that makes me think. I've probably written 500 or 600 songs. I don't even know, and I'm not very good at keeping track of them. Sometimes I'll be going through some notes or my computer or something, and I'll find a song that I wrote 15 years ago that I didn't sing very much. I'm really bad at it. One of the things I've learned about songs, and sometimes I like to write kind of complicated songs, at least complicating the chords or the words are fancy. But the longer I've done this, the more I've learned that if you can do it simply, you just do that, especially if you want people to sing it. And for me, that's one of those things about that song. It's just a very simple, it might have a minor chord in there. You can play without a minor chord, but it's just really 3 chords. Like the country singer saying, 3 chords and the truth. So, a number of years ago, are you with me? I was doing a show in South County, Rhode Island. It's right down there in that direction, okay? Outside show, and I'd set up my sound stuff, and I was kind of standing by the stage, and so 10 minutes before the show was supposed to start, everything was ready, and this kid came up to me, and he said, "Hey, Bill Harley," because that's what people call him. He's like, "Bill Harley." "Hey, Bill Harley?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Bill Harley?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Bill Harley?" I said, "What?" He said, "Do you believe me?" And I said, "Believe about what? If I tell you, will you believe me?" "Nobody believes me." "What?" "Yeah, my mom doesn't believe me, and my Derek, my brother doesn't believe me, and my grandmother doesn't believe me, my dad doesn't believe me, my granddad, nobody believes me. Do you believe me if I tell you?" I said, "Okay." He said, "Nobody believes me because you know where we are?" I said, "No." He said, because we're down here, we're at the beach, we're spending at my grandma's house down by the beach, I said, "Yeah." "Do you believe me?" I said, "Yeah." "And my dad has to work this week, so he doesn't come down until the weekend, I said, "Yeah." And then I have to share a room at my grandmother's house with my little brother Derek. He said, "Yeah." "And I have to share the room, and he bugs me. He's always falling around bugging me, whatever I do. And then when my dad comes down on the weekend, we go down to the beach, and then we all go together, and my fat dad says, 'I'm happy I'm with you. Let's all be together.' And we walk down to the beach. What we do when we get to the beach is we go out there when the tide is low, we go clamming. You know what I'm talking about?" I said, "Yeah." I said, clamming, you go out there, and I don't like clams. Everybody likes clams, but I don't like it. But my dad says, everybody's going to have a good time together. So we go out and we clam. And when you clam, what you do is you go out there and you go out in the water, and the water comes up to about your ankles, and then you twist like this, and you feel for something hard. And when you feel something under your foot and you're hard, it's probably a rock. It's always a rock when it's Derek. My little brother Derek is like, "I found a clam!" But it's always a rock. But anyway, you dig like that, and then you reach down, and maybe it's not a rock, and you pull it up, and it's a clam. And if it's really little, if it's just a small clam, it's called a cherry stone. And if it's a little bigger, it's called little neck. And if it's a little bigger, it's called a quahog. I said, "Yeah." And so then we go out, and then we dig and dig and dig, and we were out there. We were out there one day, and I was digging, and my brother was over there, and he was digging. He said, "I got a clam." And I said, "Great, it's probably a rock." And he said, "I can't pull it up, it's too big." I said, "It's just a big rock." He said, "I want some help, Mom." My mother said, "Go help him." "Mom, go help him with the clam." I said, "It's probably just a rock." She said, "Go help him with the clam." So I waded over. He said, "I can't get it up, it's really big, it's a big clam." I said, "It's just a dumb rock." He said, "Here it is." So I fell down on his feet, and it was really big. He said, "This is definitely a rock." He said, "No, it's a clam." But I dug my fingers down underneath it. It was huge. And I pulled it up, and it was a clam. But it was enormous. I don't know what comes after a quahog, but it was bigger than that. It was as big. It was as big as a catcher's mitt. And at the little hinge where it opens up, there was 2 bluish purple things that looked just like eyes. He said, "That's my clam." I said, "This clam is too big to eat. It's probably like the king of the clams or something. We should put it back." He said, "No." I said, "Just put it back." He said, "No, Mom, I want the clam." My mother said, "Put the clam in the bucket. If he wants the clam, we're going to take the clam." So I put this big clam in the bucket. And then at the end of the day, we walked all the way back up off the beach and through the path, up this sand path, to my grandmother's house. And then for dinner that night, you know what everybody else had? Clams. But not me, because I hate clams. I had macaroni and cheese. Are you with me? Clams are gross and they're icky when you put them in your mouth. Ugh. But that after dinner, I decided I wanted to go down to the beach. So I went out the back door, the porch from the kitchen, and I started to go down the steps, and I looked, and sitting there on the bottom step was that huge clam. The clam that was as big as a catcher's mitt, has two bluish purple dots right by its hinge, looked just like eyes. And Derek, who always followed me, came up behind me, and I said, "Look, it's the clam." He said, "How'd it get there?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe it fell out of the bucket and we didn't cook it." I said, "I think we should take it back and put it in the ocean where it belongs." He says, "No, I want to keep it as a pet." And I said, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You cannot keep a clam as a pet." He said, "Mom!" My mother came out on the porch and said, "What's going on?" "He won't let me keep this clam as a pet." She said, "If he wants to keep it as a pet, let him keep it." I said, "Mom, that's the dumbest thing. We should put it back where it belongs." She said, "You leave him alone." And so my brother and I went down and we got a bucket of salt water from the ocean and we brought it back and we put the big clam there in the bucket, and he said, "I have a pet." I said, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard." And my brother was even dumber, because that night when he went to bed, we slept in the same room, in this little bedroom, and there were these two little narrow beds, and he took that bucket with the big clam in it and he put it right between our beds and said, "There, it can sleep right there." I said, "Sleep?" But we went to bed that night, and I fell asleep. And for some reason that night, I woke up, and the window was open, and I heard the ocean. We weren't that far from the ocean. I could hear the kind of the hiss and the crash and the hiss of the waves going, and I rolled over, and I looked up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That clam. The clam that was as big as a catcher's mitt with the two bluish purple dots right there, the hinge, it looked like eyes. Somehow, it had gotten out of the bucket and it was sitting on the windowsill. And it was opening its shell. And it wasn't just the ocean, it was the clam was calling. Almost like it was talking. And it was scraping on the screen. I said, "Look, look!" And I turned on the lights, and my brother said, "What?" And as soon as I turned the lights on, that clam whoop, shut its shell. My brother said, "What?" I said, "The clam got out of the bucket. It's trying to get out." And Derek said, "Mom!" My mother came out of her bedroom and down in dark. She said, "What's going on?" He said, "He's trying to scare me. He took the clam and put it on the window." I said, "Mom, I didn't put it there. The clam got out by itself." She said, "That is ridiculous. She put that clam." "Mom, put the clam back and leave it alone and you go to sleep. I've had it." So I put it back in there. Next morning at breakfast, I said, "We should put that clam back where it belongs." My mother said, "If he wants to keep a clam, it's fine." I said, "Okay, but don't blame me for what happens." We spent the whole day at the beach. And late in the afternoon, I was running back up the path to my grandma's house because I had to go to the bathroom, so I was ahead of everybody else. And I got halfway back and I stopped. Sitting there in the middle of that sandy path was that clam. That clam that was as big as a catcher's mitt with the two bluish purple dots right by the hinge that looked like eyes. I said, "Whoa!" Derek came up and ran to me. He said, "What?" I said, "Look!" He said, "What's it doing there?" I said, "It must have gotten out. It's trying to get back to the ocean. We've got to put it back." And Derek said, "Mom!" My mom came and said, "What's going on now?" And Derek said, "He put the clam back." I said, "Mom, I did not put the clam there. The clam got here by itself. We have to put it back. It wants to go back to the ocean." She said, "Stop it." I said, "Mom," she said, "Stop it right now. Put that clam in the bucket where it belongs." I said, "That's not where it belongs. It belongs in the ocean." But nobody listened to me. That night, I put a screen on top of the bucket, an old window screen that I found in the garage so that the clam couldn't get out. My brother said, "That's not nice, it can't breathe." I said, "It's a clam!" We went to sleep, and I woke up the next night, and I woke up that night. And I heard the ocean, windows open. And then I heard something right by my bed, scrabbling and scraping. And I looked over into the bucket, and the moonlight was shining down through the window, and I see somehow that huge clam had managed to climb up the side of the bucket, was holding on with its shell, and it was scraping at the screen, trying to get out. I said, "Look, look!" And I turned on the light, and it boom, fell back in the bucket. My brother said, "What?" I said, "It's trying to get out." And my brother said, "Mom!" My mother came in and said, "What's going on?" "He's trying to scare me." I said, "Mom, the clam is trying to get out of the bucket." She said, "You stop it." "I mean it." Stop that. We should put that clam back. I came back the next day after we were in the sun, and then I was 3/4 of the way back down to the beach. But nobody believed me. I was the first one there, so I just picked the clam up and put it back in the bucket. That night I put 2 screens on. My dad was coming in the next morning. My brother rolled over. He went to sleep. But I didn't sleep. How could you sleep when there was a clam sleeping next to you trying to escape? And I lay there at night. It was a full moon. Moon shining down through the window. And I must have fallen asleep. I woke up and I heard the sound of the ocean, the roaring and the hissing. But now I wondered if it was something else. I rolled over and I sat in my bed, and there it was. It had chewed a hole through the screens, and it was on the windowsill again. It was scraping at the windowsill. It was calling out, and the ocean seemed to be coming closer and closer, like the ocean was answering it. I heard it hissing. And very quietly, I got up, and I looked out of the window, and my blood ran cold. Because that hissing and that roaring, it wasn't just the ocean. No. There in the yard of my grandma's house were hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of clams. And they were all sitting in the yard, and they were opening up their shells and closing them, opening up their shells and closing them. And the big clam, the one that was the size of a catcher's mitt with the 2 blue purplish dots that looked just like eyes, was calling. And then I could understand the clams. They weren't just hissing. They were calling out in the night. They were calling out. I could hear them calling, "Give us back our king. Give us our king." And that clam was calling back, "Here I am. Here I am." And those clams I watched in horror as they shut their shells. And they began to pull themselves closer to the house. And then they began to scuttle and roll on their edges till they reached the house. And I heard them scraping at the house. And I looked down from behind that clam, and I saw they were climbing onto the bushes and the trees surrounding the house, and they're beginning to climb out the clapboards of the house, and they were calling out, "Give us our king! Give us our king!" I said, "Here I am! Here I am!" It was scraping, and the clams, there were thousands of clams calling, and I knew they would never forgive us for taking the king. Then I was worried what was going to happen with thousands of clams that came into our house. So when that clam, that giant clam, the size of a catcher's mitt with 2 blue purplish eyes that looked like just like eyes, shut its shell, I grabbed it from behind and tried to snap my fingers, but I had it on the hinge. And I ran out of the door of my bedroom, and I ran down the long hallway in my pajamas and my bare feet, and I burst out the back door and down the steps and started to run towards the ocean. And when those clams saw that, they stopped their hissing, but then they shut their shells and they began to roll and clutter and just clamber towards me, all scooting and cluttering, running after me. And some were calling out. They were opening their shells as they're running. Give us back our keg! Give us our keg! And the giant clam was trying to get a hold of my hands, and I ran until I got all the way down the ocean. The ocean was roaring. I held up that huge clam over my head, and I said, "Go back to your kingdom, mighty king of the clams!" And I hurled it into the ocean, and a big wave came and swallowed it, and all those tens and thousands of clams, they rolled and scuttled and clambered back into the ocean, and the waves swallowed them, and they were gone. And I walked back to my house. It was quiet. Everyone was asleep. I went to my bedroom. I wiped the sand off my feet, and I climbed in my bed and fell asleep. And I slept till the morning, and I was awakened by Derek. "Hey! Where's my clam?" I sat in my bed. He said, "Where's my clam?" I said, "I threw it back in the ocean." "What?" "I threw it back in the ocean. It's the king of the clams, and all the clams came for it. I threw it back so it would be safe, and so would we." And Derek said, "Mom! Mom!" My mother came in, wiping her eyes, saying, "What's wrong?" "He put my clam back in the ocean." She said, "What?" He said, "I had to, Mom, I had to. It was the king of the clams, and the clams were coming for it, so I had to throw it back." And she said, "I have had it with you. This has gone all week long. Your father's showing up this morning, and you know what? We're going to spend a nice day out there clamming, and you don't get to come." And I said, "Fine." Do you believe me, Bill Harley? What could I say? Even if it wasn't true, it was a great story. So I said, "Yeah, I believe you." He said, "Good. Finally, someone believes me. I know it's out there." So here's what I want to tell you. Some of you guys are lucky enough to go to the beach this summer. Be safe. Stay with your families. Don't run around breathing on other people. But you decide to go clamming, or just want to see if you can find one. And you wade out in the water at low tide, and you start rubbing your feet, and you feel something hard. Dig down and look. It's probably just a rock. A lot of times it's just a rock. But it could be a clam. And you dig with your feet, and you pull it up. But listen, if you pull up a little one, it's a cherry stone. A little bigger, it's a little neck. A little bigger than that, it's a quag. But if you pull up one that's the size of a catcher's mitt, and it has two bluish-purple circles on it that look just like eyes right by the hinge, throw it back! It's the king of the clams. I guess it is a little scary. Okay, so listen. Oh, wait, let's do some birthdays and stuff. Okay, listen. Oh, I've got a great picture. Let me put this down here too. Okay, so wait a sec. I already did that. Well, that was from last time. Matthew, I'm going to say happy birthday again. No. Okay, so this Saturday, My older brother, John, turns 68. Happy birthday, John. He's my older brother. I'm younger than that. And some good things. I got a really nice note from Monica. When I asked, I want to know what's a good thing that happened this week. I love to hear. I want to know. You know, we have to find the good in all of this. And she said, finding a good thing. The good thing this week was finding these mini concerts. She said, I grew up. This must be a grown up, which it is. I grew up with all your stories and songs. It inspired me to start doing storytelling at my job. She teaches in a nature center. Nature centers are great places to tell stories. Because you know the thing? You can give people a bunch of facts and figures about anything. But when you put it in a story, they remember it. Because that's who we are as people. We remember through story, not through lectures and not through numbers and all that. We remember when you tell a story. So, Monica, I'm really glad you're telling stories. That's great. She said, thanks for all you do. I love watching all of these. That's great. Also, now, this is hilarious. Okay. This picture, okay, this is drawn by Will, who's 7. Okay, and his grandma sent this in. All right. Now, in case you don't recognize it, that is me. Except I'm in 4th grade. I did kind of look like that. I had blue eyes, so that's pretty good. But it says, this is Bill flushing himself down the toilet. If you haven't been watching these shows, then you don't know that I almost did flush myself down the toilet. Actually, I fell in the toilet, and luckily I didn't get sucked in. All right, and there's all the boys in the boys' bathroom watching me get flushed down the toilet. Okay, so there. I'm just so glad I inspired deep and meaningful art. So, Will, thanks. If you got a picture or something you want to send it to me, I'd love to see it. Okay, I got this stuff up here, and here, let's just put this up here. There. How do you like that? Okay, so you can see these shows on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And if you want to make a donation, watching a show, come do a show. It's like you can pay for the show. There's a thing where you can click on the button. I do want to tell you, and I'll let you know on Facebook. And if you're not on my mailing list, I'm going to send out a newsletter soon with stuff I'm working on. But I am going to, in the next month, I'm going to be doing a couple different shows for grown-ups. In the evening, I'm going to be doing a show for Storytelling Arts in Indianapolis, Indiana. I think on July 8th. And then I'm also going to be doing something, I don't know sure the date, for Gloucester Stage, Gloucester, Massachusetts. I'm talking with them about what stories to tell. So if you pay attention to that, and those, you actually have to pay to come see me, okay? So I'm pretty excited about doing that too. Anything else that I should say? Thanks for those who have made donations. I appreciate it. And this is a song I wrote several years ago about this time of year. So, thanks for listening. When the summer comes singing its song, the weather is hot, the days are long. Bees are busy, browsing in the clover. Everything's moving just a little bit slower. Meet me in the evening when the whippoorwill calls, when the sky grows dark, when the nighttime falls. I'll take you to the meadow where the tall grass grows. Sit down there and we can watch a show. And there's fireflies dancing in the dark, shining in the night. Fireflies, itty bitty sparks of golden light. Fireflies, you and me can watch them blinking off and on, dancing summer song. There's a quarter moon up, there's a whisper of breeze, there's a hoot owl calling up in the trees. Milky Way overhead's a beautiful sight, but right down here there's there's 1,000 little lights stand real still. They come so near every time they blink. They're saying I'm here. Careful, you can catch them. Hold them when they glow. Open up your hands, let them go. And there's fireflies dancing in the dark, shining in the night. Fireflies, itty bitty sparks of golden light. Fireflies, you and me can watch them blinking off and on, dancing summer song. You know, I moved to New England when I was in high school. I remember the first night we went out, somebody said, "Look, there's some fireflies." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Look, don't you see them?" I said, "What?" "Those things blinking off and on. Those are fireflies. Don't you know what a firefly is?" I grew up in Ohio and Indiana. I said, "That's not a firefly." They said, "No." I said, "No, that's a lightning bug." Depending on where you live, you call them different things. It's still amazing, aren't they? Sometime next winter when the cold winds blow, when the skies are gray, fields are covered in snow, or maybe when you're troubled and you're feeling blue, thinking that nothing's going right for you, remember this night with the star-filled sky. Remember the dance of the fireflies, a twinkle of light, a wink, a nod, shining like 1,000 little eyes of God. And there's fireflies dancing in the dark, shining in the night. Fireflies, itty bitty sparks of golden light. Fireflies, you and me can watch them blinking off and on, dancing summer song. Dancing summer song. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I'll see you next Tuesday.